Joseph, I want to thank you for calling in and giving your perspective on apatheism and practical atheism. It was an interesting conversation, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. We do have some time, and I want to get to just one more caller here, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't. It doesn't look like we'll be able to talk to Tim, but I do think we can talk to Adam, who's calling in from Ontario, Canada. Adam, what's going on?
Hello. I have a question for our Buddhist co-host today, or guests.
Yes.
If it is all the practices and it's all the chanting and the mindfulness that really helps you like do things and progress as a person, does it really help to cloak it in a religion?
I mean,
is the religion a necessary part of it?
You know, there's some people, sometimes there's a debate, honestly, about whether this is called a religion. I think it is, personally, but some people would say it's more a philosophy and a practice based on that philosophy. So I don't think it's really cloaked as anything, you know, it's not trying to masquerade as something that it's not. But it is, yeah, it is faith-based to some level, right? So if that's your understanding of what a religion is, then it's still a religion.
Well, my understanding of like organized religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has like it. All religions carry a lot of baggage, regardless of which religion you aspire to, or like even philosophies carry baggage, like communism versus authoritarianism. Like they all carry a certain amount of baggage. So I am curious if calling it Buddhism is not attaching a certain amount of baggage to it.
Well, I think it's, I mean, it's a really good point that baggage is going to be associated with any religion. I think with the SGI Buddhism, because it's based in the teachings of Nichiren Daishonin, who was a Buddhist philosopher and reformer in Japan in the 13th century, that's the reason it gets labeled with this religious tag, because it's an organized community of faith-based practitioners engaging in this lifestyle of that's oriented towards this similar target of absolute happiness and victory in our lives. The baggage associated with religion is a really interesting point, and I think is a big turnoff for a lot of people from practices that would honestly be beneficial to them. It's the same thing with for me in my life. You know, I had a lot of resistance to religion, and so it took me a long time to really accept this Buddhist practice. The same way I had a lot of resistance to medication for depression and anxiety, but once I was able to find a good medication for myself, it really helped me to be the happiest version of myself. So I think the definition of Buddhism can be really tricky to accept, especially when it comes with all this preconceived baggage. But the benefits of the practice are from my experience, worth the baggage.
And I just want to add, you know, there are some people who could take certain definitions of the word religion and apply that to the atheist community of Austin, for example. I mean, we have a building that we go to. We meet up every week. We talk about our ideas. You know, we're organized. We do all kinds of stuff. I mean, like there's definitely an element that somebody could argue is religious based. Now, some would say that there has to be like a faith part of that. You know, some would say there has to be like an ethical, philosophical part of that. And of course, you know, we don't really call ourselves a religion because we're kind of like, I mean, we kind of want to be as far away from religion as possible. If most of us at the ACA are honest, we're kind of a little bit different, but you know, that's not to say we don't have our own ideas and philosophies and practices. It's just that we're not quite as cohesive or as organized as like the SGI group, because you guys, you're part of an organization. You have a philosophy, you have a historical precedent for your ideas, and you have specific practices and things that you do. So definitely, I mean, even a conventional definition of religion would qualify you guys for that, I think, for sure. So,
yeah.
Adam, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
It's just what we do with the word atheist reflects on us, and what other people do with the word atheist, we now have to refute, because a lot of people do not take the time to go out and look, say, hey, this atheist did this. So,
right.
And that's my kind of problem with the term Buddhism or Christianity or any of them. So now some people don't know that, oh, you're this particular sect of Buddhism. So now that's something you now have to explain to them.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it seems a little bit convoluted.
That's a good point. I want to counter real quick. I don't know what David and Nicole would say, but I think my response, because like people will be like, oh, well, Hitler was an atheist, which that is debatable, one, but two, like even if he was, again, like, we always make the argument, just because one guy is an atheist and is an asshole doesn't mean that all atheists are assholes. I think the difference there is atheism doesn't have kind of a historical precedent for its ideas. Now, obviously, there are atheist philosophers and they talk about atheism, but we're not as organized in the same way. We're not I'm not fulfilling Nietzsche's ideas of atheism per se. Like that's not really what I'm doing as part of the ACA. Whereas in Buddhism, there is a historical precedent where you can kind of trace where a lot of these ideas are coming from. So like you can kind of make sort of, I guess, an ethnology or kind of an etymology of the origins of a lot of these ideas. And then you can kind of make the through line there. Whereas with atheism, it's a bit more individualistic and kind of different. It's kind of pops up all over the place in different ways. Whereas there's lines to where Buddhism coming from. It doesn't just pop out of nowhere. There's, it comes from text, and then new ideas are integrated, and then that gets established, and then new ideas, and it kind of goes from there. Would you agree with that, Nicole and David? Or am I just talking out of my butt?
No, I mean, I think I agree with you. These are some really interesting questions. I mean, this is really getting into like a lot of very deep philosophies about what is religion? How do you define religion? How do you define faith? Why give it a label at all? I mean, I think it depends on how open-minded you are, right?
Yeah.
Because
we can't just call any organized effort religion. I think that's a thing people do. And it's like, well, it's got to mean more than that, but Yeah,
but I mean, it's like also it's individuals, right? Human beings are fallible. That's my perspective. You're going to find people who practice this Buddhism who are not perfect individuals. Like they're going to do things that you might think that's not very Buddhist. But if you believe in like the innate potential of every human being, then you believe that everyone has this potential to be a better person, to be a better person for themselves, to be a better person to other people, and vice versa, And so I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's like, yeah, you can slap a label on it, whether it's Buddhist or Christian or whatever. But like, I mean, I know Christians who are very conservative, and I know Christians who are very liberal, and then surprise me with how liberal they are. And I'm like, how is this possible? I thought you were Christian. So it kind of depends on our preconceived notion of what someone with that label actually is like. And I would recommend keeping an open mind. There's a lot of people out there, and the more people you talk to, and find out about their background and like what they practice, the more perspective you're going to get on that.
Yeah. And just to add on to that too, I didn't know what SGI Buddhism was like 3 weeks ago. Like
right.
That was just not in my thing. And you've already changed a lot of the ideas of what I thought about this particular, practice. So there's lots to learn, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't accept it, even if you think some stuff's kind of out there or wild.
Sure.
It's important to at least have that understanding of what is that system and why is it there? And what is the intention behind it? Is it something you can get behind even if you don't believe it, even if you don't practice it yourself? And that's a question that people have to ask themselves. People have to ask themselves and figure that out. But
Totally. Whether it's Satanism or Scientology or anything, it's you want to learn about the world around you and getting an opportunity to share and dialogue. That's what Buddhism, that's what nature and Buddhism and the SGI is all about.
I'll be honest, I said earlier I should get a Scientologist on. Now I'm thinking about that. I don't know if I want to do that. That might be a little sketchy. I might have some problems with that, but I got to find one first. Actually, there's a Scientologist building here in Austin. There's actually quite a few of them here. Maybe I need to go down and maybe they can do a test on me. I don't know. Side note. But anyway, Adam, hopefully that answers all of your questions.